So you're thinking about moving to Charlottesville, but you're wondering, how much is it actually going to cost me? Well, stick around because I am breaking it all down. Housing, groceries, gas, and even the little things that sneak up on you like utilities and insurance, and even some unexpected surprise costs. Some prices might shock you in a good way. Others, well, let's just say they come with a Charlottesville Southern Charm tax. Cost of living, your line items that you're not going to have an option. Let's go. Okay, so let's start with the big one, housing, especially for folks relocating from out of the state. That is always the number one thing, is how expensive housing is compared to other parts of Virginia or even other more rural areas nearby. Most of my clients, honestly, are in one of two camps. The, oh my God, who can afford that? They want how much? And the other camp is always, holy crumb, I'm going to be saving so much money. Quite the difference, but unfortunately the truth. Charlottesville isn't a big city, but its housing prices often rival those in larger metro areas, such as Richmond, or honestly, even parts of Northern Virginia. Why? Yeah, that's a question that we get and hear a lot. Well, for one, the biggest thing is going to be the demand from UVA. Now, no, I'm not talking about students, and students are not buying these homes. But what you have to think about is everyone who is going to be involved with the university. So everyone from doctors, professors, executive staff, surgeons, all of those are going to be housing within our community, and all of those have significant enough that they want a good housing situation. The other thing, we get a ton of retirees and second home buyers. A lot of our second home buyers are honestly a lot of UVA alumni who were here, they loved it here, and they want to come back here, whether it's permanently under retirement or on visitation with a second home. The other reason, limited inventory and tight zoning. What do I mean by that? Well, limited inventory is plain and simple. It is what it is. Albemarle County does not move very quickly. They actually move very methodically, and things can get drawn out. So large developments that have been approved 10, 15 years ago are just now being built out. The other part about that is going to be the zoning, because they want to try and capture and keep their Charlottesville-esque feeling. They don't allow a lot of different kind of buildings, and they don't just allow it anywhere that you can put it up. So the last one, well, people often expect small town prices, and they get a dose of sticker shock when they start shopping here. So that is why. Now, a modest 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in a desirable neighborhood can easily start at $600,000, while a charming home in a walkable neighborhood downtown, you need to be thinking closer $800,000 and above. Actually, one historic home was just listed in the North Downtown area, and it's listed for over $2.2 million. And I have no doubt it's going to be gone at least the first week. So in general, Charlottesville area, remember that Charlottesville area runs about 10% higher than the national average. Currently, what you're looking at for that number, you're looking at just shy of $600,000. You're looking at $585,000 as an average, as a median for our area. That is significant. But what if you're coming from somewhere outside? That's when you start to see, well, let's go to the West Coast. California, your average is $725,000 as a start. Massachusetts, it's not just the West Coast, it's also up north. Massachusetts is $750,000 as the average, the median with starting. I can understand why so many people get here and they're so excited because we have such temperate weather and we have so much going on for us. Great location. And yeah, they do take a huge hit lower, which just blows me away. But we are pricier than the national average, but much more reasonable than many areas. Now, if you're renting, well, I hate to tell you, but that actually doesn't get any better. On average, it actually, I think, is just as bad. The average rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in the general area, in the Charlottesville general area, you're looking at about $2,100 a month. And remember, I don't do rentals, but I do know the area inside and out. So if you're looking to buy, shoot me a text and let's talk about where your money will go the furthest. Honestly, it is going to just depend on the lifestyle you want and your budget. Those are the biggest things. Is your lifestyle, do you want to be close to work? Do you telecommute? Does it even matter where you live? Do you want to have space? Again, remember, I'm not judging. I often can understand why people want space, and I totally get that. Or do you want to hand sugar to your neighbor from one window to the next on a $1 million home? See, this is the kind of thing we need to chat about. But it doesn't end there. Cost of living. We're going to also talk about the cost of groceries. Because let's face it, you can have a fabulous kitchen, but what are those groceries going to cost you? Well, don't go anywhere. We're continuing on right now. Okay, well, let's go ahead and talk about utilities and energy costs. Let's talk about keeping the lights on and all the stuff that you don't think about until the bills come due. Let me tell you right now, utilities in our area can be quite reasonable. Despite having high housing costs, electricity, water, and gas bills are usually much lower than the national average, especially if you're coming from states like Florida, Texas, or Massachusetts. Think about it this way. No need for big AC systems for months and months and months and months on end. Water is usually provided by the city or the county systems, and it isn't overly expensive. And honestly, many folks still have wells. And finally, natural gas is available in many areas, and it is competitively priced. So first, I want you to know, we don't shop for most of our utility providers. Your address will dictate your provider. Electric, water, and if you even have access to natural gas. Now, some providers, such as internet, propane, trash, yes, you will shop those out and you can shop those out. Unless your HOA actually includes some of those providers, and then it doesn't matter because it's not on your line item except for under the HOA dues. Okay, so here are some of my bills. I live officially in the county of Albemarle, but my zip code says I live in Charlottesville. So again, I live in the Charlottesville metropolitan area. My electricity is going to be Dominion Electric. They are my provider, and so because of our tempered weather And my fully electric house, I have an HVAC, I have a hot water tank, and a full electric kitchen, ceiling fans in pretty much every room, every bedroom, family room, all of that. So even with all of that going on, my electric bill actually runs $135 a month for the spring and summer. When it gets cold outside, fall, winter, that's when my electric bill definitely jumps up because of predominantly from the HVAC, because the electric heat in the HVAC, if it dips down below 32, it just has to run more. So in that case, my electric bill runs about $235 a month. So on average, my electric bill is actually $185 a month. So in the spring, summer, we're looking at about $135, and in the fall, winter, you're looking at about $235. So my average, $185. Now, what about water? Let's pull one of those up. Water. Okay, well, my water bill. My house, it has 2 to 3 adults living in the house. So between car washing, laundry, dishwasher, dogs, showering, we're looking at an average bill about $50 a month. Now that is going to be my water and my sewer. I think my lowest water bill has come in at around $30. And my biggest water bill was when I was left a love note because they were concerned I had a leak, and I did. My largest water bill was over $600, but when we confirmed it was a leak in the yard and I fixed it, I presented my bill of repair, and they actually recalculated it and removed most of the charges. Rare it happens, but just pointing it out there. On average, my water bill runs about $50 a month. Okay. Now, on that same note, if your home has a well or a septic tank, and you don't have to have both, you may have one over the other. I grew up in Carsbrook, which is about a mile from where I am literally sitting right now. In my childhood home, we had a full-on septic tank, but we were connected to public water. So with a well or a septic, though, you want to remember not necessarily going to be a monthly bill, but there's some things that you do want to remember. Your well pump runs on electricity, so that's going to increase your electricity bill. The septic does, and the wells do need some maintenance. So when you think about maintenance, an emptying of a septic tank runs about $500. And you do that every 3 to 7 years, depending on your septic tank and your household and the age of it and things like that. No matter what the utility is, specifically talking about septic tanks and plumbing, they're not made to last forever. But these are general prices so that you can get an idea of monthly cost. If you have to repair, replace, obviously that is outside your spectrum that we would consider normal and average. My house that I live in currently, again, so in that case, it's about 2 miles that way, and my house does not have access to natural gas. This is a service, natural gas is a service provided by the city of Charlottesville. It is under their umbrella. So if you do not have natural gas, but you want that gas cooking or a fireplace or a dual HVAC system, then those are the kind of times that you can shop for a propane provider. Most of the time, you do not own your tank, so whoever you get your service from will provide you a tank, and they're the only ones who can fill it. In that case, yes, you are absolutely going to shop it out. A client of mine whose house I just sold last year up 29 North in the Camelot area, she actually had a dual zone HVAC, and it ran on electricity and propane, which we're seeing more and more because when it gets under 32, the gas just gives that warmth, heat feel to it. But in her case, her electric bill year round ran about $125, but she also had $100 a month propane bill. So again, this is why you need to reach out to me. Shoot me an email, give me a call, drop me a text so we can figure out what you're most comfortable with. I have several clients on both ends of the spectrum. Yes, must have gas. No, will not have gas. Will not have a gas fireplace. So we just need to know that when we're looking to see whether it is the best fit for you. All right. So the last thing I want to talk about is internet, because that is huge. Expect to pay between $50 and $200 a month, depending, again, totally on your provider. Now, in my case, I have Ting. My Ting bill, and Ting is fiber internet, and it runs my entire house. And even when my daughter was at home, and she is totally digital, actually over COVID, when my daughter and my son-in-law were living in our home, so that was 4 adults, totally digital. The fiber internet more than covered it, and my bill runs approximately still $90 a month. That's for everything. No, I don't do cable. I don't have a landline, but I will share my experience, and that is I've had Comcast, I've had Xfinity. Huge and annoying dealing with both of them. Quite honestly, those bills, and this has been over 6 years ago, those bills 6 years ago were in the upper 100. They were like $175, $185, not trying to throw them under the bus. So that was internet and like a simple cable TV package, but still $175, $185. That's why when Ting came into town and ran service by my house, I was like, hello, yes, please sign me up. Before I had Ting, before I had Comcast Xfinity, I actually had also CenturyLink. Now, that was through our landline phone, and then they also began to do internet. Holy crumb, they were the worst ever. Our internet would just go flip in, flip out, and they had no idea. Now, whatever the reason, I don't know. That's been over 10 years ago. So it's now, at this point, it's just a distant memory. But there you go. My electric, my water, and my internet. Oh, and I'll just share my trash. Our HOA does not include trash. Actually, my HOA doesn't include squat, but it's also like $125 a year. So totally understandable. But I shop for trash. I use a small locally owned, locally serviced provider, Neighborhood Disposal. I love them. Love them. And that runs $31 a month. Hello. I can't beat their service. They're amazing. So those are my average utilities every single month. So now let's do some price checking so you can see the comparison. Because you know what? I can say whatever I want, but until you know and see for yourself, then you're going to know what your comfort threshold is. So I just pulled up here. We're in Charlottesville. We're at one of the 3 Kroger's. This one is Rio Hill. Now, the reason I picked Kroger's is because Kroger's is a large grocery chain. They are in 35 states. So I figured this is going to be a really, really easy one for you to compare. Potentially, if you have a Kroger or one of the Kroger brands near you, you can see the numbers. So I'm going to walk in. We're going to check the price of some standards. I figured a gallon of regular milk, a dozen regular eggs, nothing bougie, no free range organic or anything, just regular eggs, a loaf of store brand bread, and bananas by the pound. So let's go. Come on. Okay, first thing, bananas. 49 cents regular, 69 cents if you're going for the organic. All right, next up, let's see. Okay, so it looks like the classic white sandwich Kroger bread is currently on sale, actually, $1.99. Next up, milk. Here we are. All right. Kroger gallon whole milk. $3.49. All right. How's that comparing to yours? Let's go check out the eggs. All right, looks like large grade A eggs are running $4.99 a dozen. So again, nothing out of the ordinary. Those would be 4 things that a lot of people would buy. So now you can compare your cost of Krogering to ours. All right, let's go on, head outside. We've compared within the state, and I've given you the numbers so that you can compare if you're in one of the 36 states that Kroger services. You can get a general idea about those 4 items because, again, I was not wanting to pick anything. I didn't want to pick like a soup or a can of carrots, whatever it is. Things that we would have in our normal grocery list. So you can see for groceries, we're actually very much spot on. But here's the other part of that. In all honesty, you can find deals if you want to shop different places. Charlottesville is definitely going to give you options for shopping with groceries. Some of the options, you're going to have everything going from, not that it's low quality, but I'm just going to say your lower price point. You're going to have everything from Food Lion, Aldi, Walmart, Supercenters, all the way up to Harris Teeter's, Wegmans, and we even have a couple of very niche, privately owned, where you can go in and blow a $50 bill on just a few items. So we have the full spectrum here. Again, just wanted to go somewhere where you can hopefully compare to where you are now so that you can adjust your budget or be excited about your new budget when you're living in Charlottesville. But it's not just about the groceries. What about getting around? Let's talk about gas and transportation cost. Yes, hands down, Charlottesville is car-centric. Not going to try to brush that one under. You're not realistically going to be walking a lot of places. You're going to want a car. More people, though, than you probably expect actually are able to get away with just one vehicle, though. Now, is it easier to have multiples? Unfortunately, yes, it is. But more people than you'd expect can actually get away with just one vehicle, especially if you live or are near the downtown area, UVA, or say one of the more walkable communities such as North Downtown or out in Old Trail, someplace that supports your ability to walk, predominantly walk. Most of these are not going to be totally walkable in our community. Or maybe if you have a telecommuting job, then you could totally get away with just probably one car for the household. So now with getting away with just one car, well, hello, this is going to cut down on insurance, on maintenance, gasoline. I mean, it's already lower here than it is in many parts of the country. Actually, I am pulling up right now to Costco gas so that you can actually see what I'm talking about. All right, let's go show you the prices here real quick. All right, so Charlottesville Costco. What are we seeing? You ready, folks? Today, spring, you are looking at regular gasoline, $2.77. Premium, $3.54. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? See? Now, aren't you glad that I brought you here and showed you? Look at the thousands of dollars you could save by moving to Charlottesville and gassing up at Costco. All right, so I'm not going to be driving to all the Costcos around so you can compare. But I did pull them up because their websites are really, really reliable. The Costco today, right now, one of the Costcos up in Northern Virginia, you're looking at $2.84 for regular and $3.37 for premium. So there you go. Here we saw $2.77 and what was it? $3.39, $3.49, something like that. See, I've driven away and I've already forgotten. But for Northern Virginia, there you go, $2.84 and $3.37. And then I looked up the Costco in San Bernardino, California, and the prices there, $4.19 for regular, and then $4.49 for premium. So that way you get, again, wow, think of the money you would save being my neighbor. If you rely on public transportation, let me tell you, CAT, the Charlottesville Area Transit Authority, is super affordable. But let's be real. Charlottesville is definitely a car-centric town. And parking, well, it's going to be free in some places. Say, for example, you're going to Barracks Road or anywhere, most of the places in the county, yes, it's going to be free. But when you get into the downtown area, into UVA, it's probably going to, you're going to go from free in some areas, you're going to be going to annoying in most areas. And honestly, if you find a free spot on a Saturday in downtown Charlottesville, well, then you know what? You win the official Becoming a Local badge, because if you know where to look for those little nooks and crannies for free spots on a populous day, you are definitely becoming a local quickly. Now, another aspect of this entire talking about transportation and stuff, one of my fabulous viewers pointed out, what about connection? What about convenience, proximity to everything you want to enjoy around your new home? So, for example, are you going to be living so far away that you have to drive 30, 45 minutes to go to the movies or to go to the grocery store? In this case, Charlottesville in general, honestly, we're going to be spot on. Average commuter time, 15 minutes or less. That is huge. You're not spending your time in the car all the time. Now, what about the things that you want to enjoy? Well, things such as going to the movies, going bowling, going shopping, going to the grocery, going horseback riding or hiking or tubing. Not right now, it's too cold to go tubing. But all of those things that you move here for and that you want to really enjoy us and be part of your life, those are all here. You don't have to drive an hour, 2 hours away in most cases. Now, I'm going to say snow, skiing, things like that, you're going to have to drive. But I've never hidden that one. We are just not a snow community. For those things, you're going to want to go over to West Virginia to someplace like Snowshoe, to Wintergreen, or to Massanutten. So those, yes, you're going to have to drive, and that's going to be a line item. But in general, all the other stuff I was mentioning, Charlottesville is awesome. No additional, we're surrounded. So it doesn't, if I want to go hiking, I can go up north. I can go over to the west side and just go over to the mountains. If I want to go tubing, I can head down to Scottsville, jump on the James. Yesterday, I went horseback riding up in Gordonsville. That was like 30 minutes away from my office. So we're right here in the center of it all. Let's talk insurance, because it is really one of those costs that people forget to budget for. It's also one of the things that can really be a financial hit, but in the case of moving here, it can actually be a huge bonus, which I don't know that a lot of people recognize. We have multiple insurers, and we have minimum mandatory types of coverage requirements. So, car insurance, Virginia requires a minimum liability coverage, and in Charlottesville, you're looking at about $90 to $150 a month, depending on your driving record and obviously the age of car that you are driving. Home insurance. This one shocks a lot of people. If you're buying a home, expect to pay between $1,200 and $2,200 a year. Again, depending on the home's value, the location, and the age. Also, it's going to depend, and that's going to be your standard home insurance. If you're looking at adding a bunch of riders, things such as tornado coverage, flood coverage, or whatever you want to choose from, hamsters invading your basement, I don't know. There are lots to choose from, but none of them are mandatory. Again, basic home insurance is going to run $1,200 to $2,200 a year. And that's really, really good from what I understand when I'm talking to my clients from other parts of the country. The next one, health insurance. Health insurance, if you are self-employed, such as myself, health insurance plans can run anywhere from $300 to $1,300 per month. Now, if you're on an employer plan, then it can be much more affordable. And no matter what, if it's an employer plan or a private plan, the quality of coverage and the cost can vary widely. And I'll give an example of that. When my husband worked for one of the hospital systems, you would think, oh, hospital system, hello. And I want to say that our insurance ran about $500 per month, right? That was our cost, not including what the employer paid. But our insurance was crap. It was ridiculous. You would think if it was a hospital plan that it would be good. No. My best friend works for the University of Virginia. Again, you would think great hospital plan, but she's just been hit. She had to get an MRI, and that was an instant $5,000 deductible. So just be aware that they vary widely and on who provides them and what kind of plan it is. All right. Now, while I'm sitting here, let's talk taxes, because that's going to be a big one where real comparisons come in. So overall, Virginia actually has a graduating 2 to 5.75% state income tax. But you need to remember property taxes are going to vary by county, city by city. Because Charlottesville is its own municipality, its taxes are different from Albemarle, which surrounds it, which is different from, say, Greene. To give you an idea, City of Charlottesville taxes are a wee bit higher than the surrounding areas. So Charlottesville currently has a 0.98 cent tax. Albemarle County has a 0.854% property tax. And since we mentioned Greene, well, Greene actually comes in as a real bargain at 0.73 cents for their property tax rate. But it depends on where you buy. And honestly, another reason you need to reach out to me, because when we ball all of everything together, that's where we're going to get a really good picture of where is going to be a great place for you to start your Charlottesville adventure. Oh, before I forget, we need to remember personal property taxes. This one comes as a surprise to a lot of folks who were moving in from out of the area. This has been a long-standing that they have tried to slowly weed out, diminish. But in general, that runs $4.40 per $100 of assessed value. We're talking things such as cars, campers, motorcycles, and boats. So all of those together, you need to remember that as part of your tax line items for whether or not this would be a good fit for you. And as we wrap this up, here's your final surprise. This one actually often takes people by surprise, and that is private school tuition. Because the schools in general are absolutely strong, phenomenal. I mean, let's face it, this entire area was founded and is centers around education. So the public systems, whether it is elementary, middle, high, community college, the University of Virginia, or any of the universities and colleges, even surrounding areas, it's a really, really high standard. But for those who want to or who need to, for whatever reason, factor in private school tuition, I want you to do your investigative work. We have some phenomenal private schools, but some of our private schools, actually several of our private schools, you can be up for a sticker shock. Several schools that I know of, for one, they run over $25,000 a year in tuition. Now, that is not for boarding school, because I would hear that and I'd be like, holy crumb, that's a college tuition, right? But no, that is going to be for a year of a private school and a few of the different ones. Now, that's not all of them. For example, the Catholic school does not run that much, that it's not that expensive, because again, it's a Catholic school that's supported by the diocese. But for some of the very specific high school level, several tuitions can run over $25,000 a year. And believe it or not, the availability, the admission can actually be really limited. So I wanted to bring that up because if that affects your family, you need to count that in to your cost of living. So is Charlottesville expensive? Well, honestly, it's just going to come down to where you're coming from and comparing it to. If you're moving from the Midwest, some things are going to cost more for sure. But if you're coming from the West Coast or a lot of northern U.S., it might feel like a steal. Even my clients from Florida feel like they are getting a good bargain since due to all the insurance issues they're experiencing in the state, they don't have to carry or get most of those coverages, and they have an option of who their insurance providers are. Anyways, you got questions? Are you thinking about buying? Text, call, or email me. I've lived here my whole life, and I'd love to help you figure out if Charlottesville area is right for your next move. And hey, don't forget to subscribe for more Charlottesville insider information. I have deep dives into surrounding small towns, info on the neighborhoods you hear about, and if you have something that you want to know more about, drop a comment below. Your Charlottesville journey starts here, and I will see you in the next video.